On September 17, 1943, Marcia Goldglance came to life in Portland, Maine. At the age of 2, she moved with her sister Rosalind and her parents to West 5th Street in Brooklyn. Brother David was born 5 years later, and a bigger apartment was necessary, so they moved to West 10th Street in Brooklyn. Aunt Marcia knew that she wasn't a baby anymore, and she now had the title of middle child. Aunt Marcia was not your ordinary young girl. She didn't want to be sassy like her teenage sister Rosalind, nor could she be adventurous as her brother David. Marcia's nature was to help others, but first she had to obtain the knowledge and all the experience she could to take on this role. She loved school and was an A student. Marcia always knew from right and wrong and became very good with giving people advice on the right thing to do in situations. Aunt Marcia knew never to be a busybody and always believed in truth and honesty. She hated gossip and never believed any of it.
You still got 2.5 minutes.
At 17, she met the man of her dreams, Marvin Rosenberg, at a Sweet 16 party, and they dated during her nursing studies at Brooklyn College. She knew this was at a Chinese restaurant. She knew this was a man full of pep and spunk, and she knew that she could never be bored with a man like Marvin. Aunt Marcia graduated with a nursing degree, and Uncle David was so happy for her becoming a nurse that he couldn't wait for her to take pictures of her sticking the thermometer in his mouth and taking his temperature. She told him that this should always be pretend and that she would never have to really take his temperature. Aunt Marcia enjoyed working in the hospitals and taking care of patients. Her first job as a nurse was working at Brooklyn State Hospital with the mentally ill patients. She knew that if she could handle these patients, she could handle anybody. Immediately after graduating college, Marcia and Marvin got married. They had a fun honeymoon at the Neverly Hotel, and then shortly after the fun excitement of marriage, Audrey was born. When they say life is full of surprises, they mean it because 11 months later, Debbie was born. Aunt Marcia had her hands full at 105 Avenue P. During the sleepless nights, night of changes, and paying attention to her husband's every need, Marcia went back to work only on Sundays to Kings Highway Community Hospital and Kings County Hospital, working in the operating rooms. This certainly got her mind off the energy happening at home. 5 years later, Nancy was born, and Aunt Marcia was back to changing diapers and sleepless nights. But she was glad to have Audrey and Debbie to entertain Nancy. Aunt Marcia also made it a point to have her daughters enjoy their summers. No one was going to sit home doing nothing at 105 Avenue P in the heat. She was a nurse at Camp Beaver Lake for 3 summers while her daughters were campers there. As they got older, she sent them to the JCH and Broad Channel day camps. Everybody remembers the great summers they had growing up, and Aunt Marcia could enjoy her peace and quiet of working. Remembering back at the days of 105 Avenue P, Aunt Marcia always gave Audrey and Debbie fun birthday parties. I knew that when Debbie had one in December, I would be right back in another one in January for Audrey. I remember playing Pin the Tail and Donkey, and Aunt Marcia kept spinning me around 100 times. I was so busy that I walked into the kitchen. Aunt Marcia kept saying, "You're getting colder, even colder, you're freezing." And then it wound up where I put the tail in the refrigerator. I knew I was getting colder, I told her. Well, I lost that game, but I won it in Twister. Everyone fell down, and I was the only one still bent over. Another fun party was eating in the kitchen sink at the Jan's ice cream parlor. Aunt Marcia had good intentions, but there were so many girls at this one that we couldn't all fit in, and one girl fell her head in the sink, and Aunt Marcia had to, bring us to the bathroom and clean her up. And those are the good old memories of childhood. Aunt Marcia always had an open door policy, and all of her daughters' friends were always welcome. There was always a crowded household with lots of girls, but Aunt Marcia didn't mind. She always had cookies or something cooking in the oven for everyone. She will never forget when Audrey and Debbie put their names and addresses in 16 magazine. She knew that the crowds in her house were slimming down, but her mailbox was getting full of pen pals. The postman had to deliver batches of mail to her door from pen pals around the world. Aunt Marcia had to spend hours going through it to find her bills. It seemed that every teenager out there loved the Big City Rollers, Sean Cassidy, Roy Benson, and Lee Garrett, and they all wanted to write to Audrey and Debbie. Aunt Marcia knew it was time for a new address and a bigger place. The Rosenberg family then made their big move to 325 Kell Avenue in Staten Island. Aunt Marcia thought it was going from city life to suburbs, where she could finally do gardening and planting. While she was enjoying herself in her new home, growing vegetables, and her daughters were all teenagers, she decided to go back to college to get her bachelor's degree in nursing. She also worked at Willowbrook State Hospital and the United Cerebral Palsy Organization. It took her 10 years, but she finally did it. She got her bachelor's degree degree, and everyone was proud of her achievements. Just as everything was going so well for Aunt Marcia, her mother, my grandmother, became ill with dementia. My grandmother didn't know where she was and where she was going. Aunt Marcia had a lot of patience in redirecting my grandmother's focus and answering all of her questions. She went on for a few years. My grandmother lived with Aunt Marcia in Oklahoma for about a year, but then it was too much. She went into an assisted living facility, and Aunt Marcia visited her many times a week. This was a big responsibility and sometimes a burden, but nothing stopped Aunt Marcia from...
Susan, slow down.
With an empty nest, their next move was to the Four Seasons in South Brunswick, New Jersey. Aunt Marcia was looking forward to an even bigger garden. She knew she had to start from scratch, but couldn't wait to dig in. She has been so happy ever since. She has been in her new home. She's busy every minute, whether it be helping others, going to yoga, working in a hospital, leading her sunshine club, entertaining or feeding her cat. Aunt Marcia doesn't relax because she has a lot of energy. Throughout her entire lifetime, Aunt Marcia has observed the Jewish religion, abiding by all of the rules by the book. She keeps Shabbos, has a kosher home, celebrates all Jewish holidays, even if they're small ones, and goes to temple. With her busy lifestyle, she finds time for her religion. The Passover Seder has always been the big festivity in her household. When Passover is coming around, you can bet that Uncle Marvin looks at Aunt Marcia, shakes his head, puts his hand on his forehead, and says, "I've made another Passover Seder with your family." Of course, Aunt Marcia ignores him and continues cooking her matzo ball soup. She always looks forward to the Passover Seder because she gets to see her whole family together. Even though I have never lived with Aunt Marcia, from what I've seen over the years, she has been a great wife, a great mother, a great daughter, a great sister, a great friend, and most of all, the greatest aunt. She gives great advice. She'll be anywhere in a snap, and she will always answer your questions. If she doesn't know the answer, she will look it up. She is there for everyone. I wish you the happiest birthday ever, and I look forward to celebrating more birthdays with you.